Welcome to
People of Purpose.
People of Purpose.
People of Purpose.
People of Purpose.
People of Purpose is a podcast of inspiring people whose stories help you see things differently, live with intentionality, elevate the way you participate in the world, and take the necessary leaps in your life to seek and find your passions. Come with us and develop the courage to wholeheartedly pursue your purpose and unleash your truest potential. The biggest experience of my life so far was when I was 19 years old and I was hiking Yosemite National Park in California. I had a traumatic experience with my dad and brother where I fell down the mountainside. I rolled about 40 feet down an 80-degree slope and did a couple of flips over a 15-foot cliff and broke my body. I spent the night on the mountain. I freaked my family out. I got helicopter rescued in the morning. And that has been the most formative experience of my life. As my dad was running down the mountain to get the search and rescue team, I laid there realizing that I should have died, that I nearly did die. And meditating on what that felt like, I was reconnected with an incredible oneness that gave me love and strength that I choose to call God. And I made vows to God that night that I would live with much more purpose and intentionality, that I would be mindful of my natural gifts, and align my actions with service that could bring people together, to help them communicate better with one another, to communicate better with themselves, and bring greater opportunity in their own lives and the lives around them by aligning with their truest self. I'm extremely grateful for my second chance at life. That night I decided that the best way to understand how I could best live out my new truth, my new promise, was to immerse myself in cultures that pushed me towards introspection and growth and propelled me towards my truest and best self. I had overcome the fear of dying, and now it was time to live. Today's episode is a unique one in which I am the guest. Figured it was time to get listeners to know their host a little bit better. I'd been hearing a lot of intrigue related to episode 0, in which I briefly introduced myself. And so if you're wanting to hear more about my purpose, what I'm doing with my life, experiences that have shaped me, this is your episode. I asked my good friend Austin Schauer to interview me, and to my surprise, he said yes. I chose Austin because I think he's hilarious and smart and incredibly charismatic. He's very good at hosting conversations in real life. He has a unique combination of being seriously minded, but also adding this lighthearted touch all the time that makes you feel really supported and cared for in the conversation. But also he does a lot to dig deeper and find out a little bit more than you first offer. And I think that challenge is what drew out a lot of the good answers in today's episode. I thought it would also help that Austin and I share many things in our common backgrounds. Also, so Austin and I both grew up in Topeka, Kansas. We were actually born in the same hospital, which we found out in the episode. And I first met him when we did rock band camp together in summer after 6th grade. I was intimidated by him because he had this long hair. He was just with this crew of guys that knew how to just shred the guitar. And I was this short, athletic boy who wore Nike shorts, and he was wearing jeans and all black and had like hair down to the middle of his chest or whatever. Anyways, Austin and I created a good friendship afterwards that by the time high school happened, we were actually becoming fairly good friends. We did policy debate together in high school, and I think I've shared before that activity really shaped me a lot. And then we went our separate directions for college. I went off to McAllister in Minnesota, and he stayed in Kansas and went to the University of Kansas. We saw each other over breaks, and then he eventually made his way over to Oregon, where he got a master's degree in English. And I went a little while without hearing from him, but while I was in Thailand, I received a message from him saying that him and his girlfriend were looking for a way to teach in Thailand, and were asking how they could do so. And I, having made it there myself and currently was teaching there, laid out exactly what I had done to make it there. And he followed the blueprint step by step and made it himself to Thailand. I was actually able to say hello to him at his orientation as I was exiting the country. That was a really cool experience. And we do touch on that in the episode. But this episode was really special for me, and it was quite a treat because it was the first time we'd sat down in Topeka in maybe 2.5 years. And we're just at my kitchen table, and we're having a good conversation about all the sort of things that we shared in Thailand. It was really cool to share our opinions on our life in Thailand, and for the first time be able to hear about kind of what he's doing with his life now that he's had that experience. And I learned that he writes comedy sketches and is now moving to LA soon to live out his dream. So I think Austin probably does a better job of me at hosting a podcast. I definitely have some things to learn from him. So hopefully you're not sad that I'll be back to podcasting in the future. But for the purposes of this episode, I'm so grateful to Austin for putting in so much time and energy into making this recording so great. He actually listened to every previous episode and created like a really long Word document with format and questions. And I think just does a really good job at hosting it. Yeah, I think everyone should be extremely thankful for the hard work he put in, because I think today's episode turned out really nicely, and I hope you're going to get something out of it. So please enjoy this interview with your People of Purpose podcast host, Tanur Badgley, myself, and episode host, Austin Shower.
Hey Tanner, how's it going?
Hey, it's great. How are you, Austin?
I'm good. I'm glad to be here. For those of you who don't know who this is Austin Shower. I am one of Tanner's oldest friends, acquaintances from way back when, and he invited me onto the podcast today to interview him so we can get to know Tanner, the man behind People of Purpose, a little better, see where he's coming from, know what he's all about, and all that good stuff. How's that sound, Tanner?
Sounds good, yeah.
Cool.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, no problem. So, let's see. We've talked about a little bit right before this podcast. We talked about just some things we want to cover today. So I've got 3 things that we can go over. I call them the 3 T's, the TTTs. We have Topeka. We're both from Topeka. Thailand. We both taught in Thailand. And then teaching. Maybe that can frame our conversation for today. And then whatever tangents come from that, we can follow and just have some fun, make it casual. I don't have any grand aspirations for the conversation other than what we want to talk about. How's that sound?
That sounds great. Yeah, I appreciate you putting in so much effort to be able to make this project the best it can. It's a lot of dedication to ask of you.
No worries, dude.
You did more preparation than I've ever done for an interview.
Well, I don't have to edit the whole thing, so it doesn't matter to me.
That's true, yeah.
Cool. So we're both from Topeka. Were you born in Topeka?
I was, yeah.
Where were you born? St. Francis?
St. Francis.
Oh, yeah, me too. High five.
Nice. We were born at the same place.
Man, yeah. When's your birthday?
October 9th, 1991.
Okay, so I'm April 13th, so I'm 6 months older than you. Cool.
Yeah, you're always one grade above me.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. I was a baby for my grade, and you would have been old man for yours. But, so did you live your whole life in Topeka?
I did.
I mean,
until I was 18.
Yeah, same here. So we were born and raised probably the same influences, right? Went to the same high school. Did you go to Jay Scheidler or Indian Hills?
I went to Wanamaker until 3rd grade, then I changed to Indian Hills.
Okay.
And then Washburn Rural Middle School and Washburn Rural High School.
Cool. So we went to the same middle school, high school.
Yeah.
And
I think I first met you at was it rock band camp in 6th grade?
It absolutely was. I'm so glad you brought that up. Because that was one of the other things we have in common. We were in a rock band camp, and Tanner and I played in the same band. Was it Goat Bread? Was that the name of the band? We played Danzig's Mother. And then Cochise by
Black Sabbath.
No, not Black Sabbath. It's the
Audio Slave.
Audio Slave. Yeah, thank you.
That's
nice.
right.
Yes, yeah, that was so good. You had a red.
Yeah, my super cheap eBay guitar that has sparkly red on it and some star stickers. I was with all these long haired rockers that wear all black. And
yeah.
I was wearing my Nike athletic shorts.
Yeah, but you were cool. You didn't care. You were rock and roll, bud. That was the first time we met, I think.
Yeah, I was really intimidated to meet your whole crew. You guys are like really good at music.
Yeah, we were rocker boys into metal, and I don't know if any of us listen to metal anymore. Any of that.
Yeah,
but it was fun. And then what was the next time we interacted? I just always knew who you were. I think we had an algebra class together.
Yeah.
With Mrs. Craig. And then I knew you from debate. And then we all hung out. It was a whole crew,
Definitely, like when I started dating Emily, you and I hung out a lot more.
Yeah, we hung out a lot more. And then when you were at McAllister in college, I would come up and visit you guys,
Yeah,
that was cool. And then we had, who's that guy? Ben? Remember Ben Conlon?
Uh-huh.
Conlon?
Yeah, Ben Conlon.
Conlon, yeah. And then I see him at the...
I should tell that real quick.
Yeah.
So I surprised Austin, So Austin and Ben, both like good friends of mine from different places, came to Thailand, and we're at the same orientation. Didn't know one another really at all.
I had met him before, but I didn't remember it because I was like, "Where are you from?" He was like, "I'm from St. Paul, blah blah." Or I'm from somewhere, but I was at school in St. Paul, and I was like, "Oh, I have a bunch of friends who went there. Where'd you go?" McAllister. I was like, "Oh." Yeah, I know. Do you know all these? Blah, blah, Tanur Badgley? Of course I know Tanur Badgley. Like, it was insane.
And then, the next day, I show up, and I hadn't told you that I was coming.
Oh no! I was like, what?
I only talked to Ben about coming.
It was crazy. I was like, this is so strange. And we were at the Royal River Hotel or something in Bangkok.
It was fancy.
It was a nice place, except for the Wi-Fi. Everyone had to crowd in that lobby to get. But I mean, we'll talk about that.
Wi-Fi
more.
Problems.
Right.
Common.
Okay, so. We came from the same place. We did the same stuff, and then that continued. So after you graduated, you were just working in St. Paul or something, Minneapolis.
It's been a year, in Minneapolis, working for a digital marketing company called YP.
YP, what were you doing?
I was mostly selling advertising and marketing plans for local businesses to be able to drive traffic to their business.
Was it SEO stuff, like search engine?
It was that, plus yellowpages.com, plus Yelp and stuff like that.
Okay, nice.
It was okay. It was not that fulfilling. It gave me a lot of good skills. I was talking to people that own multi-million-dollar companies.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
That was kind of cool to do at 23. But
for money.
Also, they just don't really trust you because you're 23 and have no real-world experience.
You're some little twerp,
telling a 30-year-old I don't know, a business owner that's had their business for 25 years how to run their business.
Yeah, that's true. You could teach them a thing or two.
I got a lot of no's, but a lot of people said you're going places in the world.
Really? In the marketing world.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I'm rooting for you, but not in this case.
No, sorry. I'm going to ruin your day, buddy. So then you got an itch to go teach abroad.
I had it before that, actually. I had it fall semester of my senior year.
Okay.
I was actually in a pretty significant relationship with a girl that was in Spain that year. She was
okay. Yeah, I remember I met her.
Yeah, Anna.
Yeah.
So she was a grade below me and was doing her study abroad semester, and I was just man, I loved my study abroad semester. I was in Morocco the year before.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I was I think that's what I want to do after I finish college is go abroad again, immerse myself in a new culture, and develop a skill that I do really enjoy and
see who you are without all the cultural baggage of what you were born into.
Sure, yeah, exactly. I've since I was 18, I've loved doing that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was thinking about it then, and then she comes back, and I'm just wow, I'm in love, and I'm going to make this relationship priority number one. And I was I'm going to stick around for a senior year, and so I got this position in Minnesota for the year. And I mean, the first week I had the job, she broke up with me. So that was sick.
So you were crushed. You were in a downward spiral.
I was in a pretty bad spot. I lost my grandma. She died. I got this job that I quickly realized wasn't really for me. I moved in with a Craigslist roommate I had never met before.
Were they a creep?
No, he was actually great.
Oh, nice.
Just a lot of anxiety type of things I was going through at that time. And then Minnesota winter's always a depressing time.
I like that. I like the cold, the bleakness of...
You're outside for 5 minutes and just shaking miserably.
Yeah,
my car didn't have a heater that year, so that was great.
you can't do that in Minnesota. You'll die.
I was just hanging out in a scarf and a hat and gloves and coat all the time.
That's funny. So, I mean, I guess there's always that anxiety after you graduate. You're what am I going to do next? Because, up until that point, everything's been planned out, right?
Yeah, that was a hard time for me, for sure.
Yeah, sure. And you have to figure out where you're going to go next. So she breaks up with you. And then what made you want to go to Thailand specifically?
So Thailand just seemed like such a combination of things that I was interested in. I wanted to definitely go to an Eastern country. I wanted to be a part of a philosophy, a mindset, a daily like living routine that was just really different than where I came from. That had a lot of like elements of meditation and like just a chillness or a relaxedness that I thought like I would really thrive in. I feel like my pace tends to be slower, more mindful, more. I like to think, and stuff like that. And Thailand was a beautiful country that had a lot of those elements. I wanted to learn a lot more about Buddhism.
Yeah.
I thought that was fascinating, going to Morocco and learning a lot about Islam. I lived with a Muslim host family, so I wanted to experience a new, I guess, spiritual mindset. Buddhism seemed like something I could really like get into.
That's really cool. Yeah.
I've been going to yoga a lot and been meditating a lot just in Minnesota, and I wanted to dive in a lot more.
Namaste.
Yeah.
Exactly. So.
And then also I knew that Thai massage was really cheap.
That was
I wanted to basically just like treat myself really well. Like my body had been wrecked from this accident I had to Yosemite. I was spending so much money on healthcare, and
I didn't even know about that. I mean, I vaguely remember the Yosemite accident. I remember when you had the concussion in Minnesota. I remember people talking about, but I don't remember the accident in Yosemite. Did you keep it like under wraps, or was
I tried to? Yeah, it was like something I felt self-conscious about. It was like the chances were higher I should have died. Like
right.
I had no control over how I landed. I was landing on rocks from like 50 feet above them, and
so what?
Out of control.
You got airlifted to some kind of hospital or something.
Right. Yeah, I talked about it in the intro episode, but like I fell at like 6 p.m. and had to spend the night on the mountain until the sunrise. And that was one of the most joyful moments of my life. Is when sunrise comes. I'm in Yosemite, like overlooking the valley, which is a beautiful place.
Were you like
a helicopter comes and like they drop 100-foot rope, and this fireman like hero guy like
his arms.
Yeah, he's holding onto the rope, doesn't even strap himself in. He's got one strap and it's for my stretcher.
Wow.
And so he's just holding on, and we're both like, he's like overlooking the valley,
and he like kissed his neck romantically.
I'm like flying over this place, and I'm just like, I am saved. I'm in the most beautiful place ever. I'm on my way to like good things.
What was wrong with your body? Were you like
couldn't move?
What did you break? Like a spine thing, or
some things in my pelvis had several stress fractures, and
what things? No, I'm just kidding. Oh, sorry.
I don't know all this terminology. They basically did a full body CT scan and said you don't have anything major to worry about. Nothing we can do here on the spot. Like we're not trying to do surgery or anything. So they prescribed me like massive pain meds, and I left. And I was like, this is insanely lucky. And so I'm like, I'm gonna get myself back to where I used to be, but I'm also gonna do so more intentionally. And so I really started digging deep while I was just on the couch for the next few weeks, trying to think like, what are like my God-given gifts, and how can I maximize those and contribute something to the world? Like, what am I being called to serve, or what are some of my duties towards people and my relationships? How can I be better at communicating and all these things? And
where can I get cheap massages?
That was another one.
That was at the floor.
I had a lot of body work that needed done after that. I got into acupuncture. Was another thing that related to Eastern society that I wanted to be a part of.
I'm thinking for Thai massages, though, they feel really good. They're super rough, and they like rub your bones. You know, like they're rubbing your shin bone, and it like hurts, but it feels good. Like, was that good for that pelvis accident?
I think it's really good for your tissue, but I come to realize that I think massage is more of a temporary solution that gives you like 3 or 4 days of relief and fall right back into it.
Yeah, that's probably true.
I've done other things that I think are more powerful. Like, for example, in Thailand, I found a doctor that does this thing called gua sha. It's like a Chinese treatment. And it's basically like really deep, like scar tissue removal of the different levels of your tissue with this like horn thing that he rubs on you.
What?
And then like herbs and oils.
And it feels better?
Oh, it hurts like crazy.
What?
Yeah. So like he takes like places that are like blocked, like you're stagnant in your energy flow, and like your tissue is like locked into place. Like I had several places around there. Like my body was really out of balance, and my hips especially, and then my upper back.
Okay.
And so he unlocks a lot of that stuff. He also did like massage and chiropractic stuff, and acupuncture and cupping. And so like I would see him for like 5-hour-long appointments. And I would just feel so much better. And like that stuff is like all about like toxin removal. And so I think it does a lot more to go deeper, like at creating sustainable impact than Thai massage does.
Interesting.
Yeah, I was like always kind of just like on the lookout for some really like natural healing doctor that could help me because I didn't want to be relying on pain medications like it was kind of the first month out of
Oh,
it.
gotcha. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Your body's like wrecked. You need
Yeah.
some relief. So you're on the couch and you're saying, I'm going to go to Thailand. So then how'd you find CIEE, right? Or did you just look online and it popped
Yeah,
up?
so I had applied for a Fulbright fellowship, which is like this like kind of big name place to go through, and
Super cool.
I got a finalist award, and I was like,
What?
super
I didn't
pumped.
know that.
Yeah,
Congrats, dude.
yeah, and
Do you have any money left over that I could have?
I didn't get it in the end.
Oh, that sucks.
So I was a
I'm sorry.
finalist, which means like you're on to the final. Like the chances are very, very high you're going. Some of them don't make the list. And I emailed like the career person I'd been talking to at McAllister, and she's like, "We've had 20 people become finalists in the last like 5 years from McAllister for a Fulbright fellowship, and all 20 have gotten it."
Oh,
And I was like, "Yes, I'm in. This is amazing. I'm going to Thailand."
oh,
And
no.
then, like 3 months later, in like I think it was late March or early April, I found out we've decided that you're an alternate for the program.
Oh, God.
And I was like, oh my, what do I do?
Crushed for like the second time. This time figuratively instead of literally.
Yeah, that's hilarious. So then I just was like, what do I do? And then I remembered that this organization that several people had studied abroad through in college did teaching placements, and I realized I needed to like scrounge together like $1,000 to make that happen.
Yeah, because it was a costly application.
Mm-hmm.
But I think
because they do everything for you.
they do everything for you, and you have like job security. Because if the school fires you or whatever, you could go through CIE and they deal with that.
I actually thought it was better than Fulbright. I had made several Fulbright friends, and they like weren't allowed to own a motorbike, which I thought was insane.
That's part of their thing.
They're like not allowed to own a motorbike. They made like 50 or 60% of the salary I made, and also like their schools were like low quality schools in Thailand.
Oh, really?
That's like kind of part of Fulbright's mission is to like help out the most in need parts of the countries. So like, I mean, I was super happy with the school I was placed at. Fulbright also puts a lot of people like alone. They're the only foreigner in their village.
That's gotta be lonely.
For me, I had like 6 other Americans at my school, which was
nice. That's like essential. I feel like because otherwise you could go crazy and like not know what I don't know.
How many did you have at your school?
We had the first term I was there, we had 10, and then the second term we had maybe 12. Not all American. We had some Filipinos because they speak English really well. We had a German guy, so he was weird. But like we had enough people that weren't from Thailand, so you didn't feel like we still had some ties outside of Thailand to talk about stuff like having American culture, talking about politics or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had 2 Chinese teachers, 6 Filipino teachers, a French guy who taught math in English with like a heavy French accent. Eric. And then like several Thai women basically that like taught English.
Oh, nice. Did you teach math and English at all?
I just taught English conversation for 5th and 6th grade.
Okay, nice. Patum.
Ha.
Patum ho. Nice. So you went over to Thailand, did the orientation in Bangkok, or did you do Chiang Mai?
Chiang Mai.
Okay. So Chiang Mai's in the north, and then you were stationed. Where was your town?
I was 4 hours southeast in Prae. It's spelled Phrae.
Prae.
Yeah, but you just sound really happy and excited when you say it. Prae.
Wow, 4 hours southeast of Chiang Mai?
On a bus, yeah.
Eesh.
So like I was kind of in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, that's wild. And it was more a rural school.
It was kind of like the urban school of the rural territory.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so it was like the biggest.
Yeah, it's like the town center.
The town center of like all
tons
these
of villages.
Okay,
yeah.
That makes right. What are they growing? Rice.
And we were famous for mohom, which is like an indigo dye that like the country uses for their clothing.
Was it mostly Thai? What was the ethnic makeup of the place? It was all Thai. Were there like hill tribes at all? There
was a small percentage of they call it like Hmong people or Karen, like people from the border of either Laos or Myanmar or
Okay, wow. So you had so you had some interesting mix there.
Yeah, but I don't think I was like that keen at like being able to know who is who. Like
No.
they all just kind of look like they're the general same nationality to me.
Oh yeah.
There's way less diversity there than there is in the U.S.
Yeah, but I mean, all those people come from, I don't know, different places, right? Like,
but I can't tell like if someone's from Chiang Mai or Bangkok by looking at them, really.
Oh yeah, no, you can't.
So it's like it seemed like 90 something in the high 90% of Thai people.
Yeah, and I mean, were you one of the few white people there?
Mm-hmm, just me and then the 6 American teachers.
Okay.
And then Eric.
Okay, yeah, Eric was French.
Yeah, he'd been to the school for like 15 years.
Yeah, what was that like being a minority for the first time? You know,
I
your skin color and the way you
I think it's really important to put yourself in that position.
Oh yeah,
I am like such a majority dominant like demographic right now. Like, I am tall, like blonde, male, American. Like I am the one stamping on everybody every day.
That's true.
So I think it's really good for a perspective shift to like be in the minority side and like you feel it in so many ways.
It's like, crazy. Like what was one way you would feel it?
I mean, there's tons of positive ways. I think. Like, you're treated like really, really well. Lots of times, like people tell me 20 times a day that I'm really handsome or I'm really smart, which is like
no one told me that actually. So that's kind of I think this interview
maybe because they were distracted by how funny you are.
No, funny looking maybe.
So people would always comment on like that stuff, but you just notice it like in language. You're like in a place and everything just is just noise.
Everything is just noise. Like you just
like in this island everywhere you go, and everyone looks at you or tells their friends to look at you real quick,
taking pictures with you.
Lots of that,
yeah. I noticed. For the most part, it was positive, but at our school, at least, because we were foreigners, nobody trusted us at all. Like there was, everyone assumes that you're just some more. I mean, we were kind of dumb at first, you know, because you're adjusting to a new culture. But they assume you're some kind of dumb white person speaking English. They don't know where you're from. You know, they can't tell the difference between Canada, Australia, English accent or American. You know, South Africa. I don't know. So everyone just would. A lot of times I felt like they would assume the worst. And that must about you. They would assume like
and they go through this cycle of like getting a new American teacher every single year. Yeah. Hardly anybody stays more than their year.
Exactly. The first term we were there, everyone was like not super cold, but the majority of the teachers were cold. The instant all the three of us that came back, the teachers loved us. Just the first couple of days we were back the second term because we stayed longer than just the requisite 6 months. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, okay, you're in it for the long haul or whatever.
I mean, I think this is like most Thai people's relationship with a Westerner is you realize that relationship is like probably going away within a year.
I know. Isn't that weird?
Definitely.
That's not fair. It's like not.
I was like really good friends with the Frisbee crew in Chiang Mai by the end, and I just like really admire how they like actually like give so much to their relationships.
Oh yeah.
Knowing that like you're leaving.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Never been in that type of environment before. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, and do you think that's what do you think that comes from in a culture? Is that like a Buddhist thing, or is it because?
Yeah, I mean, I think Thai people are extremely accepting.
Oh yeah.
Very open-minded. In many ways, they're like a pretty progressive, like ideal type of society. Like they have a strong sense of unity. They tend to smile a lot or like have just kind of a positive mindset about life.
Right.
I don't think they get wrapped up in like overthinking the future or trying to like, I think they're more like surrender their lives to like some, I don't know, higher power or something like that they like allow more to happen. Whereas Americans, I think, try to control their circumstances more.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Could you give me an example of that kind of thing, like where you saw that? Either in teaching your students, dealing with other teachers, dealing with your Thai friends.
Yeah, I guess like for me, it's that Frisbee team. They would do that all the time. They're just like so they have like backpackers come every week. They'll just come for like 1 or 2 weeks. They have people that like will join the team for a semester while they're teaching there. They have people that join for a year. Then they have other foreigners that will stay for a lifetime of like being an expat.
Yeah.
And you can just kind of they have like these parties and gatherings and stuff, and you're just as included as the people that have been a member of this thing for like 10 years.
Oh, interesting.
Even though and they'll ask you like, when are you leaving or whatever, and you say, and they're like, oh, that's awesome. What are you going to? And they just seem like generally like enthusiastic about your future, even if it doesn't include them or their country.
Wow.
I think that's pretty interesting.
Sorry about that.
Also, like you can just kind of there's ladyboys are everywhere.
Yeah.
They're quickly becoming westernized. Like several people, especially like you saw in Bangkok and Chiang Mai, like there are people that are like looking and dressing very Western. The music is that way. But then there's also like, so there's like an adoption of like these brand new like Western poppy type of influences. But then there's still like an adherence to like, praising their king of like 70 years and like listening to like Thai country music from like decades ago. People are doing both of those and
in tandem. Yeah,
I think that they're really good at adapting.
Yeah, that's true. One thing I noticed when I was there was that kind of I think it's a Buddhist focus on the present. One thing I noticed in America, at least, I think because so much of America's background is Christian, not that everyone here is, but there's always like this Christian idea of recounting your sins and like being like, this is what I did wrong, let me remember these and ask for forgiveness. And I didn't see any of that kind of thinking in Thailand. It was all like, oh, the past, like forget about it, we can't do anything, let's just focus on what's happening now. Like anytime, like in America, if I got in an argument with somebody, it would be like awkward for a couple days. In Thailand, at least, I taught with a couple co-teachers, and we would like disagree on something, and we'd be angry in the moment, and the next day it's like, oh, don't worry about it, like, my pen right, never mind.
That's
like,
saying all the time.
Yeah, it's like, don't worry about it, we can't do anything.
You want some green mango today for your snack?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, it doesn't matter after it's passed, which makes more sense.
I always felt like I was the one getting most worked up, like there.
Oh, yeah.
And in America, I feel like I'm the one like least getting worked up about things.
Yeah, I mean they don't show it. Like I think if they do feel it, they don't. Part of the culture is to not show it, but still, like it was very focused on the center or the not center, so focused on the present.
Yeah, I really like that. I think I gained a lot of skills related to that by being there.
Yeah. And so you were there a little over a year.
I was in Asia for 15 months. So
okay.
I went in and out of Thailand several times during that. Thailand was my home base.
Right. And then you didn't go back to the U.S. at all, right? During that time.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's important because it makes you...
So I came in September and traveled Vietnam and Cambodia with my mom.
Nice.
And myself for like 3 weeks, and then started my orientation, started teaching.
Sure.
And then I spent my 2-month summer going to the south of Thailand. My family kind of came for a week. Was really cool.
Went to the beaches.
Yeah.
Nice.
Went scuba diving for a week. Went to Nepal for 2.5 weeks and hiked to Mount Everest.
Oh, cool.
And then came back to teach. And then I finished that. And then I went to Cambodia again, and then India. And then I came back to Thailand for another week.
And where'd you go in India? You were in Rishikesh for the yogi thing, right?
Correct. That's all I went was.
Okay.
I had a 30-day visa, and I went for all 30 days to my yoga teaching school.
Whoa, that's wild. That's cool. So, what kind of skills did you feel like you learned just being in Asia for like 15 months outside of your home culture, which you spent most of your life in? Like, what kind of concrete sort of skills or sort of routines or habits did you pick up in your time there?
Yeah, I mean, several. I think in general, I became very independent. One of my, I think, more subtle or subconscious goals was to not need another person always knowing everything about my life.
Yeah.
I just mentioned I had that girlfriend for 3 years, and I grew up with like a brother who was my best friend, and my family being highly involved in my life. And I never really had a period where like I was truly living by myself. Until Morocco, I tasted it a little bit.
Yeah.
But
and
still,
you were drunk on it.
Yeah, I loved it. But still, like I had 60 Americans all around me every day and hanging out in the evening. And this was like a case where I really started to do things for myself. And I thought that was great. I found things I was like really passionate about, and then didn't care about how I was perceived or if it was weird or whatever. I started doing things that like meditated for 10 minutes every morning on my porch. I did yoga every day after school. I became a teacher. That was like a huge thing, like constantly in a teacher's mindset. So I became really organized with notes on my phone is a big thing. So I wrote a blog was another big thing. So I did a lot of reflexive activities, and I just always kind of wrote them in my phone. I had different notes for that. Like one would be like lesson ideas I had, and how I would carry that out. I learned to like release control over those lessons a little bit as I was teaching, not having them so rigid and structured because you have no idea how long things take or how successful they'll be or how fun they are.
What people are gonna, what kids are gonna latch onto and really like. Just do that more, you know.
So I learned like the skill of like letting go of control and just like being able to adapt to every moment as needed.
That's interesting. So it seems like it seems like you started out saying that you became comfortable with kind of being alone. You developed these sort of like daily activities like meditating or doing yoga after school and keeping notes and organization in your phone. But at the same, so those are all activities where you're very much retaining control of your life, you know, choosing what you want to do, being mindful of every step of the way. But at the same time, you also learn to let go of that, right? So it's kind of both sides.
It's interesting, like, paradox that I think is a real thing. Like, if you can start to harness control over like the sways of your emotions, like if you feel anger coming on, just take a step back and like look at that and be like, why am I angry? Do I need to have a reaction to this? Like everyone's impulse is, you know, do something that like releases that anger or whatever. But these things just fall away. Like if you just sit with that for 5, 10, 15 seconds, take a couple of breaths. Your attention obviously begins to focus on something else, and then you feel a new thing, which is like generally for me related to like calm and peace and just general like gratitude and happiness.
Or hunger, maybe.
Hunger a lot. High meals are small, but it's also I had no stresses around money there. It was like an incredibly new, beautiful feeling.
Right, it's crazy.
I'm hungry. Yeah, it's $1 to have an amazing like meal right now. Like, I'm gonna do that.
It's cheaper. For those of you who don't know, it's cheaper to go to like a street vendor in Thailand. You pay $1 and you get an amazing meal, whereas you could go to like the market or the grocery store, buy stuff that's more expensive to first get there, buy it, take it home, and prepare it, and it's not going to be nearly as good as anything you get down the street.
I think I cooked once all year.
I cooked eggs one time. I made some sandwiches, sometimes on the go, but other than that,
just so much lower quality than the food cooked by someone that does it every day.
Exactly. What's your favorite Thai food?
Oh, that's hard. Several of them. I really like, we had this place at the end of our street called Jennings.
Jennings.
It sounds just like Forrest Gump says Jenny. And that place like served super good pad Thai omelets, which is pad Thai inside of an omelet. I really like that. Oh man, I've been away for like a year now that I'm forgetting some of the really specific names, but there's like Somtam, I think, is a really good like salad type of appetizer.
It's spicy papaya salad.
Yeah, I love that. This juice is like all limey and spicy still. And
I liked it too, but it was so spicy that I was like,
I always had to say my pet, which is like no spicy.
My pet.
Which in American terms is still very spicy. It's just not very, 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 very spicy.
It's like 2 chilies and not 9 chilies.
It's either like 9.5 out of 10 or 10. It's like the range you get to choose.
Yeah.
So yeah, I liked that a lot.
And this
smoothies all the time. Like that was just amazing. Like, mango season. I just love mango season. I think it was like May or something. Just super juicy mangoes for like $0.25.
Pineapples, papaya, like all that.
Yeah, just super fresh fruit that was just delicious and could be made into an icy smoothie when it's 100 degrees out. Just super hits the spot.
And so, prayer.
Sure, yeah, that's good.
Is it considered north or central?
North.
Okay, so what kind of food do they have there? Khao soi,
they have khao soi. That was one I forgot to mention. That's really, really good. Yeah,
That's cool. I like that stuff.
Yes.
It's like crispy noodles on top, and then like egg noodles and like a broth, or
yeah.
It's kind of spicy. There's like a curry to it. I don't know.
It's like a coconut milk curry, and
there we go.
Something that makes it orange.
Yeah.
It's surprising how undereducated I was about what I ate.
Well,
you just see all these foreign things that I've never eaten before, and it's like, this is very good.
It's funny because I would ask Thai people stuff like, "What is this?" or "Why do they do that?" They're like, "I don't know. We just do it." And it's the same way if someone asked you why we eat popcorn at the movies, you're like, I don't know. It's just part of what we do. It's like so it's hard to explain your own culture, I think, unless. So it's like it's not surprising that there are certain things that we.
One other thing that I loved about Thailand was all the coffee shop culture. I did not expect that at all. I had never been into coffee shops, even in college. I just never did that.
Oh, really?
For some reason, like
what?
My first time I fell in love with coffee was in Thailand.
Well, see, and so the northern part of Thailand is super well known for having really good coffee.
Yeah.
So that's like even better.
I was getting organic beans from like the neighboring province of Nan, and like getting greeted super warmly by the woman that like serves teachers and me during like the lunch hour.
Oh yeah.
I had like these massive lunch, like 3-hour lunches or something.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I would usually go out with like a group of people, and then like they have to teach every hour because they're a Thai teacher.
Mm-hmm.
They work like actual jobs.
Right.
So we have this super part-time contract.
Yeah.
Like 3 to 4 hours a day of work, and then the rest is like hammocking and reading and like coffee shop writing. And,
wow.
I used to like
open schedule.
Oh yeah, definitely. Two different schedules. The first and the second semester were different, but in general, like I love to spend some of my free time because it's also free air conditioning, which is super nice.
That's like that is what guides your life. I feel like
it's 100 degrees outside.
It's 100 degrees. You need that air conditioning.
Definitely.
And a fan just doesn't cut it. Like you're just like I would just like walk outside and my face is covered in like sweat and grime like immediately.
Yeah.
Because it's so humid.
Yeah.
So you cultivated these sorts of mindful ways of life, meditating, doing yoga, journaling, organizing your lessons and stuff. But at the same time, you're learning to let go and sort of just like plan stuff out, see what happens. Don't stress about if it goes well or not. When you came back, did you notice how have you been able to implement that in America, at least? Being back in the States.
It was really hard when I came back. I think American people ask me lots of questions of like, what is your long-term plan? Like, what are you doing next? Like,
that's all anyone cares.
Have you found a career? What does your financial security look like? These are like,
are you in a relationship?
Yeah.
Like, when are you gonna? And then even if you,
I'm starting over. I got no money.
I'm a broken man.
I don't have a job. I went from being like rich, upper class, like Thai person.
Thai royalty almost,
Sure, yeah. And like with the chance to continue that even more, and then coming back on this faith that like choosing my family and choosing my home country is like going to be the right decision.
Yeah.
I definitely struggled with that a lot. I was like, I just gave up an amazing lifestyle for like wintertime in America where like I don't have any like fulfilling job and I don't have money and I got to go live with my dad again.
Yeah.
25. I'm not killing it in life anymore.
For those of you who don't know, I'm doing the same thing with my parents and I'm 26.
He's completely copying me also.
I am. I've been following Tanner's life trajectory to a T at this point.
You're probably doing better than me.
Taught in Thailand, and then you came back here and we were substitute teaching. I taught in Thailand, and now I'm trying to substitute teach because I want to be just like Tanner.
Yeah, I recommend it. Substitute teaching is great. It's actually made me want to become a teacher.
So you've been back for a while, and now you've kind of realized that you like teaching a lot, and you want to pursue that further, right?
Right.
Why?
Okay, so I wasted a lot of time. Maybe not wasted. We'll see what it looks like in the future.
Mm-hmm.
But I spent a ton of time studying for my LSAT, which
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I took it twice.
What?
I spent about 6 to 7 months studying for the law school entrance exam.
And you just
I took it in Bangkok, and yeah, my second semester of teaching was filled with like being this highly productive person in my free time, which like I don't know how I feel about it. It made me feel productive and smart, and I was like doing a lot to like build my brain because it's really easy to like lapse into a general like passivity or laziness.
Oh yeah, I know that.
I'm sure you know about
I know that exact feeling. Yeah.
So I wasn't doing that so much second semester, and I was proud of that. but I was also like kind of just aimlessly studying for this major test that like was going to land me into like law school, and I just didn't know about so much of what that would look like. I'm convinced that I really like all the topics related to law school. I just didn't know what my job was going to be.
Yeah.
And I didn't love my score the first time, so I took it again when I got back to the U.S.
And that didn't.
And it's a good enough score. It's like 67th percentile of all like the people that take it or whatever. I can go to law school.
Yeah.
But I just started realizing like I don't really know what that vision looks like. It's going to put me in a lot of debt, and I think like a medium that I'm really serving people in, and I feel like a general enthusiasm for is teaching. I was doing a lot of studying as I was substituting in school. So I would use my plan period and my lunchtime or my like freedom as a high school sub, especially to like study. And so I was constantly just telling my dad, like, I think I like teaching more than I want to go to law school.
Yeah. Well, that's a good sign to follow like whatever you're interested in. Right?
Yeah. And I just look back at my past and like I was teaching in Thailand. And before that I was like tutoring like once a week. I tutored a kid for 2 years in high school.
You're teaching right now with a VIP kid, an online.
Yeah, I teach online. I teach English to Chinese kids, so I get still that taste of like what it's like to teach to, like it's similar to what it was like to teach in Thailand.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, it would be really, really cool to actually have my own classroom and design my own curriculum. And I kind of found like that I really do enjoy this like 6th grade age time. It's like a formative period where they're no longer like just a child anymore. They're kind of able to think for themselves and make rational decisions and
you say
apply mindfulness to their life.
You say 6th grade because you taught that in Thailand and you want to teach that here?
I don't think it's because I taught it in Thailand. I think it's just because I realized, partially because of Thailand, but I've also just realized that substituting, like that's kind of the area that like I think I can speak best to kids, and that kids like are open and like receptive to me, and I feel like I can come from a position of authority or like wisdom on these subject matter. Whereas like with seniors in high school, I struggle a little bit more. I feel like I'm too similar to their age. I haven't like had enough distance from them to really reach them the way that I want to.
That makes sense.
But I don't think 6th graders are so young that like you're going to tell them one thing and it's just going to go out the next year. Like these things are something that they internalize and digest. And I mean, they're pretty fully functional humans at that point.
Yeah, little creatures, you know.
It's really cool to see. Yeah, I get a lot of comments about how I'm the best teacher they've ever had.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm just a one-day sub. Like I've never had a teacher that I've felt like I can share things with, or that like has listened to me, or
that's awesome.
Made me think about a new topic. Like I'm constantly trying to get them to appreciate something. Like you should learn history today because it's the reason you're sitting in this chair. Like this didn't happen, this event didn't happen. Like you wouldn't be here, and you should be thankful for that. And we should learn about how that works because those principles apply to today. And
that's cool.
I think it's really fun to see that exchange, but also like to go through the process myself of like reflection and how to best communicate something. I want to be a teacher.
And how do you think your past experience, I mean, obviously teaching in Thailand gave you a taste for teaching, okay? But it's still different than teaching in American schools, right? How do you think your past, your like travels or your experience being abroad has contributed to your desire to teach?
Oh, I think my mind has been massively expanded.
Did all the shroom shakes and pie?
I did that once in pie. I had a great day looking at the cosmos, and then I around sunrise was just like puking my brain.
What?
Yeah, I got super sick. I don't know what happened.
So Pai is a place close to Chiang Mai, like an hour away. It's through like a really rocky, mountainous terrain, and they're famous for shroom shakes, a hippie culture. And so you took one, and you got a little pukey.
It got super pukey, like 5 or 6 a.m., just like outside of my bungalow, just yakking it up.
Where'd you stay?
Cat hostel or something like that. I don't know, just in the center village area.
Okay, nice.
It's beautiful there. I love Pai.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
So you had your mind expanded by hallucinogens, natural from the earth. But
sure, I've done my fair share of that stuff. And that's been, I think like
you want to get all your 6th graders to try them as well. I think that's a bold choice.
I don't think that's the medium to accessing wisdom that is required. I think like it's about like entertaining free thought and like seeing where your mind goes and constantly questioning assumptions is like really, really important to me. So
yeah, so
critical thought.
But that critical thought and questioning assumptions, does that come from your traveling and seeing what people believe and you're like,
Yeah, definitely.
Conversations you've had?
It comes a lot from reading, obviously.
Sure.
But it also comes from interacting with people with way different value sets and way different like experiential backgrounds and different religious mindsets. And I really like to look for like kind of what's universal in like humanity and try to tap into that. So I feel confident that I can reach any kind of student. And I'm building my knowledge base in lots of different areas. Like I'm trying to be like a true liberal arts student, constantly making connections between the disciplines.
Interdisciplinary.
Yeah, interdisciplinary and applying a discipline to my learning.
Nice. That's a good little...
my blog is titled Student of the World Blog.
Yeah.
And that's like what I'm always trying to be is like in a student type of mindset. I'm trying to study like why are things the way they are here and why do people believe this way? And I like to try things out too. Like I was telling you before the podcast, I listen to Tim Ferriss a lot and he does a lot of these like life experiences where experiments where he'll like try out a new form of living or a new mindset for a short period of time and then see what he wants to take from that next.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think and the Buddha talks about this a lot, is like experience is where you actually receive your wisdom. You can't just be told how something works or like that something is best for you. You got to like try it and then internalize that for yourself. And I think that's ultimately what is going to distinguish me as a teacher is I'm going to do things that make the kids experience their understanding rather than just being told what that is for like, to take their test or apply it for an essay or whatever. Like they're going to be able to like actually take some life wisdom out of my class because I'm always taking life wisdom out of like everywhere I go.
So your life wisdom that you're imparting to them is that you have to experience things to really understand them, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So like a big thing for me is like getting beyond these like superficial, like fear-based sort of mindsets that I think keep a lot of people in Topeka stuck in Topeka. Yeah. It's like, how am I going to survive in a place where I like don't know anybody?
Yeah. Don't speak the language.
I don't speak the language or like, I don't have any like super financial secure thing set up or like, I owe it to somebody that I stay like in their physical life. Like there's all these like limitations we box ourselves in, but like none of those are actually true. They're just all something that you decide to prioritize. And like knocking down that assumption and actually questioning like, does this need to be a priority or is there something I can do that's more important, like building my character or my understanding of the world? Especially I think at this age, it's really, really important in your 20s to like live passionately, live authentically within like your true nature and to like luckily I'm born with like social skills to connect with any type of person regardless of any of these like language barriers. There's just ways to make it happen. And
so you say
I live like a faith-based life, I guess, where I just have faith that like the right intention and the right like vibe between people is going to create magical situations and opportunities. And you have a new set of choices to make and you're constantly like elevating your consciousness and your reality.
Yeah. And so you say that your 20s are a time for living authentically or you could say living with purpose, something like that. But isn't it also about trying to find that purpose or trying to find that authenticity? So you just have to, I guess what you were saying is like you have to try these different experiences so you know what is authentic, right?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. So one thing you said in there was that you like finding these universals in humanity. What kind of universals did you notice while you were traveling around, and even since you've been back in the U.S., comparing and contrasting like the two, not the West and the East, but just traveling in different places and coming to the United States?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've noticed that if I'm in the right mindset, if I'm operating from a positive attitude, and if I'm being like someone that's giving warmth in an interaction, I'm going to receive that back regardless of who that person is or where they come from.
Yeah,
everyone has a choice to like display the good part of themselves or like the more like nasty or annoyed or side of them or whatever. And so I think I figured out how to draw out kind of like the warmer, more generous side of people.
I know what you mean, yeah.
Yeah, and then I also noticed that like people have a capacity for empathy.
Yeah.
So if you can just be genuine and honest about like your intentions and your like understanding of the situation and your like newbiness or whatever. You're just like tell people like, I'm a beginner at this. I don't really know what I'm doing.
I need help. Is the best thing to say.
People help you. People help you. Go way out of their way to help you.
Although I will say, I think that's a Thai thing too. Like Thai people are outrageously helpful.
But it's an American thing too. You're here helping me. You just listen to like 4 or 5 episodes of my podcast and have a huge script of like.
That's true. Yeah, yeah. But like also, I guess and if you're in like if you're in a big city or something, you ask someone, "Hey, where's this thing?" Usually, people are generally pretty helpful and will like tell you where to go.
Yeah, like one big way I've been able to travel so much is that I have people I can stay with in these places that like will give me a free place to stay, will allow me to buy groceries and like live out of a fridge, not have to like eat out all the time. That like give me like tips about like jobs I could have or ways I could save money and. I do a lot of like following people's suggestions and not trying to exert, like I said before, not trying to exert so much of what I think is right or best, but constantly being open to like operating in a different mindset that the other person is coming from. Yeah,
well, it's like you operate more in a mode of gratefulness rather than like entitlement. Like that you just literally deserve anything. It's like people are willing to give you this crazy, like, which is cool that people are. That I can't even imagine that people are so willing to help out. You know what I mean? Like, it's a cool thing.
And it reminds me that like whenever I'm feeling busy and under deadlines and under stress or whatever, like these things are just like a second away from accessing. And the second you access that and you do something, your happiness just goes up so much.
Like,
accessing some sort of like connectivity to humanity, like wanting to help people, wanting to like. Share your opinion or your advice on something that is being asked of you, or wanting to give some sort of, like input on something that someone needs help with. Like,
and that mindset seems super helpful for teaching because so much of that is like, just being open to new ideas, guiding people when they want it, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I love the whole general exchange. More and more, I'm realizing teaching is definitely for me.
Okay, so
it's cool.
Your podcast is called People of Purpose. What would you say? Would you say your purpose is finding other people who have purposes and putting those purposes out in the world to listeners?
I would say that's a concrete purpose of the podcast. I don't think that's like what I would say on my obituary or whatever.
Actually, I have your obituary right here. I wrote it on my computer.
I just got sold life insurance yesterday. Or not sold, but offered life insurance.
Did you take it?
No. I don't know anything about that market.
So what would you say that your purpose is? To live a purposeful life or?
I would say it's something related to creating opportunities for others to live to their fullest potential is certainly a huge element of it.
So teaching would fall into that?
Definitely, yeah.
I mean, I guess the podcast would too, because you're giving advice for people to live to their...
Yeah, so it's something related to like looking really inward and accessing like the skills that are like really great in me and doing things to like put that out in the world to bring others to a more elevated reality, like where they can access like their highest potential. So yeah, like I think a purpose is like something that you're always evolving in.
Sure.
But for me, it's definitely related to bringing others to like their truest sense of self and like self-expression, and in the process making the world a more like understanding place that is more mindful and thoughtful about like what we're putting into it. And
so what does that look like, bringing people to a more elevated space? Just having conversations, expanding their mindset in terms of values, beliefs, systems, whatever?
Certainly those things. I think like a concrete example that I'm currently going towards is these low income school districts or underserved schools. So I just got a job offer with KIP, which is a Knowledge is Power program. It's a nonprofit public charter school system in the Bay Area. So
congratulations.
Got offered a job in San Francisco. And basically what they do is they take students and their families that come from public schools that are like really broken, that just have no track record of success. Like 10% of those students are going to make it to college. Their parents didn't. It's just generational poverty, a lot of like trauma related to that.
Systemic issues, racism, poverty, that sort of thing.
So I think that they're also impoverished in like a mindset sense. Like they don't have an expanded opportunity like mindset. And I think someone like me who has humbled. I think I've humbled myself to live in spaces where I really have no idea how things operate.
Yeah.
Just like them, they have no idea how to make it into college or what they're going to study or how to
That's
break a
yeah.
generational poverty thing. And showing them that it's very possible by being self-reliant. Like if you can cultivate the best version of yourself, you're going to constantly elevate. And
or
so
maybe to be striving towards the best. Like you'll never.
Yeah. It's not about the end goal; it's about the process.
Yeah.
So I see this as like a potential space to like operate in, at least for the short term. And so like this program, I think, does really cool things related to like the parents are highly involved in it. So you're going to like parent-teacher conferences at their houses and stuff like that. You're like highly engaged in their community. I've also like get a mentor teacher my first year that has 5 or more years of experiences and has been designated like a master teacher.
Cool.
So I could be like learning about how to be the best teacher. So yeah, like this type of school system does a lot to create new opportunities for these kids. Like they're visiting colleges in 6th grade. They are like writing like purpose type of statements. They're thinking about things that they just don't really talk about or think about in their home. And it gives them like an intentionality to school, like more so. I think they do more student-led projects. The emphasis is less on like the content and more about like the process behind it. So like about creating good habits, about creating like good study skills, cultivating like good self-expression, organization of thought, how to apply like proactive approaches to like getting scholarships and grants, and just basically doing things to put yourself in these spaces that like are constantly like planting seeds and bringing new things into their life. Whereas if you're in a public school system in this area, they're like everything's taught to like the lowest common denominator. It's like sit down, shut up, do this, like this grade you're gonna fail. Like instead of that type of space, it's more like about the positive things you're reaching for.
Growth mindset.
Yeah. So
what's the opposite of a growth mindset? I don't remember.
I don't know the word. Static mindset, maybe.
It's like growth mindset is like you can always be better, but then the opposite is like you're not achieving.
Fixed.
Fixed. Fixed. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I just read a lot of stuff from this woman named Carol Dweck who started the growth mindset philosophy.
Oh, nice.
It's like rooted in psychology, but it basically says like, with effort, I have the potential to expand my mental capabilities. And fixed mindset says like, you have, like you're like an unchangeable piece of hardware. Like it's going to just stay the same. And growth mindset's like, no, you can add all these software applications that upgrade your ability. And in the process, you're like creating a more fruitful life experience, but also like the potential to take on even more and more. And then you can make your way to wherever you need to.
Whatever you want.
I don't think college is necessarily the end goal. It's like, college is kind of like a standard like thing to achieve. It's like when you're in 6th grade, going to college is like pretty universally like that person is doing something that is successful for them or whatever. So like that's what the program like strives for, is like to and through college. But I don't think necessarily that is like required, but essentially like that mindset, like I can get myself to reality that my family's never been to, the people in my community have never been to, and I'm going to be in a supportive community with teachers like me.
Exactly.
Who can bring them there. So that's cool. That's what I want to operate right now.
That's cool. So do you think so you went straight from, you're talking about college, you went straight from high school to college, right?
Yeah.
Do you think if you had taken a gap year between that, like, do you think that would have been helpful for you? This is just something I think about. Like,
definitely.
I know.
It was kind of weird, actually. Like, some of my best friends in college that I was attracted to, like, all did gap years.
Between
senior year of high school and freshman year of college. Like, my roommate, huge influence on me, Drew Mintz. I lived with him for 3 years in college, and we actually never even had separate rooms. We shared the same room. We had both of our beds in the same room for 3 years.
Same bed even. Ooh.
We pushed them together often. But like that was super influential on me to listen to him. He had spent his gap year. I kind of copied him the way you copied me.
Oh, really?
He spent his gap year going to Morocco and volunteering as an English teacher.
Okay, nice.
For 4 months. And then, you're like speaking French every day, learning Arabic.
Wow.
Living in a way different space. Like Morocco and Thailand have similarities in that they're kind of stuck in this like past way of living that America is like 100 years away from.
It's like the 50s over there.
It
feels like that, you know?
So like just listening to that just expanded. I'd never been out of the country. I'd never like thought that I shouldn't do something other than go straight to college. And he just did all this stuff. And then he did this, like he hiked the Appalachian Trail, which was from Maine to Georgia.
Oh, really?
So he did that for like 5 months.
Did he bring a banjo along?
No, he doesn't play instruments.
He doesn't play a banjo?
No.
I feel like it's a requirement
He
for
brought like other things.
Other sorts of entertainment.
Yeah. Back to the psychedelic aspect.
Interesting.
But like just hearing and like picking his brain about how he thought about these opportunities and how like they shaped him, like he had so much more intentionality to the college than I think I did.
Same, yeah.
I had thoughts about dropping out all the time, especially in like the middle of it. I was like, what is the point?
Well, McAllister's a tough school. Like,
it was demanding on a lot of levels. And like, you know, everyone in your classroom can just contribute to discussions so well.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just like,
I had the same feeling all the time. I was like, oh, what's going on?
But I was also just like, what am I doing this for? Like, I don't really, I was just constantly itching to get that experiential wisdom.
Yeah.
And in school, it's just all this like intellectual, academic sort of, you're thinking about something. You're not actually doing it so much.
Yeah.
I wanted to get out in the world and do it. And my study abroad semester is really where things switched for me. I became really into journalism.
Oh, nice.
Writing, and I'm going to probably be a writing teacher.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. Yeah, I think that, so that kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? That kind of, not refusing the life of, first you go to high school, then you go to college, then you do this, you get a job, blah, blah, blah. Like looking at choosing your own lifestyle.
That's a great point. Okay, so back to your question like 4 ago or whatever, about how have you adopted what you learned in Thailand to living in America. So I came in and right away I read this book called like Designing Your Life by 2 Stanford professors. And it talks all about like living a choice-filled lifestyle. Yeah. Where like you're not a product of your environment. You are actively creating whatever environment best serves like
your natural strengths.
Sure, yeah. So like I did things like create this like daily journal of like pluses and minuses, things that gave me energy and things that took energy from me.
Nice.
And you kind of like look back at that. I did this for 21 days, and you look back and you see these patterns. Like every time I'm spending an excessive amount of time on the computer, or I'm like inside of for a lot of time, I have a negative. I'm getting sleepier. I'm becoming like more prone to more like cravings. Yeah. And anytime that I'm like connecting with a human, or I'm doing something that's creative based, or I'm producing something artistic in nature, I got pluses. Like I don't need to sleep. Yeah, I don't need to sleep as much if I'm like actually having something that's like remarkable.
Or you don't want to sleep, because like it's like 8 o'clock. You're like, oh, hey, baby, I'm up for the day. Let's do some fun stuff. I don't want to do boring shit.
So I've been applying that mentality to tons of things. You can do it to food you eat, how you feel after meals, like what was included in that, and you're just constantly optimizing more of the pluses and reducing the minuses.
Even down to the clothes you wear, or not wear. For those of you that can't see, Tanner's not wearing any clothes right now, but he's naked. And I'm on his lap, actually, so let me get off. There we go. Okay. So,
lighter.
Sorry about that. It helps you to live a more intentional life, right?
Definitely. Like, you start to think thoughtfully about, like, what is it that I want to do, and how can I, like, what are the things necessary to make that happen?
Okay, yeah. So we've talked about the initial 3 T's I wanted to discuss, the Topeka, Thailand, and teaching. Now I want to kind of move that thoughtfulness, not purpose driven, but like that kind of choosing your own lifestyle, right? I want to take that and then ask you, what sorts of media are you into at the moment? What are you choosing to spend your time with, whether it's books, movies, podcasts, blogs, Craigslist ads, for whatever you might want?
Yeah. I mean, one podcast that has just been with me ever since I found it at the very end of Thailand, and I still listen to it weekly and read lots of his stuff, is Tim Ferriss.
Mm-hmm. He's the 4-hour workweek guy, right?
Yeah. He has like the most popular podcast, I think, on iTunes. It won like best of iTunes like the last 3 years or something. It's insane. But yeah, he has the Tim Ferriss show, and he basically breaks down like the habits, tactics, and routines of like really successful people.
Yeah. What's his like? Well, yeah. Sorry, keep going.
So he's famous for first writing this book called The 4 Hour Work Week, where he basically details about how you don't have to work like in a fixed physical location or for like a corporation or even have a boss. Like you can do things to just work 4 hours a week to be able to live however you want. And just optimize your lifestyle to like.
So what sorts of things like the?
So what he did was basically like he created an online like nutrition company where he started selling like pills that he made with like PhD chemistry people to optimize like brain performance on like a short-term basis for test studying and things like that. He also created like a language learning software. He's also super brilliant.
Yeah, that's kind of like, how are you supposed to? I can't do that.
And then like after that, he did things like he graduated from Princeton, kind of like me, just had no idea what he wanted to do after he finished that. He's like, I want to go to business school, but that's like $200,000. So he's like, he had made over $200,000 from his online business at this point.
While he's an undergraduate?
I think so, yeah.
That's absurd. But I mean, I guess you can break down tactics.
This was also 2007, and so like he was just killing it at like Google marketing while nobody else knew what that was.
Yeah.
It's like a brand new space. I think he applies a lot of open-mindedness towards his life and tries out new trends and see how they fit to him. And so yeah, he's like super meticulous about optimizing like the words he chooses to advertise with and things like that. But he took a $200,000 fund and was like, instead of paying for an MBA school, which is like a $200,000 sunk cost, I'm going to apply $200,000 to investing in myself to make it in Silicon Valley.
Wow.
And so he slowly did that. And by the end, he was an early investor in like Twitter, Uber, Facebook.
Oh, wow.
And several other like ones, and just became mega millionaire off that.
That's wild.
Yeah, so like his mindset is just anything is possible if you apply like some level of open-mindedness to it, and then if you break down those specific tactics and routines that successful people that are ahead of you, so that you can reach up and get to the next rung of the ladder.
Yeah, that's interesting. You say he slowly built up, because so many people think. I mean, so many people think that success is like something happens overnight, when really it's like it's after a lot of hard work of long days of like doing routine.
I think
things.
anything you want to get good at requires it to become a part of a daily routine or a habit. So if you want to write, you should write every day.
Yeah.
If you want to like get good at meditation, you should meditate every day. If you want to like train for a race, you should run every day.
You don't just show up the day of the marathon and like expect to do it.
I have all these things I do. Like every day at nighttime, I write down 3 things I'm grateful for. And then what I've learned from the day.
Do they always have to be different, or can you do the same things?
I usually base them in the content of the day, so they're just inevitably different. It's like probably today, number 1 on my list will be I'm grateful that Austin is interviewing me for my podcast.
Nice. I'm making the list?
Probably.
Awesome.
I mean, my podcast always makes it high on the list.
Yeah.
I love the process.
Being artistic, creative, doing your
kind of
thing.
Everything I like in a single project, which is a huge reason I started it.
Yeah.
I also I'm become a yoga teacher. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh, I know you were yoga certified, right?
Yeah, I got certified in India and I've become a yoga teacher. And
nice.
Like, I think that one thing I've come to learn is if you want to like put yourself under some sort of pressure to perform highly, you tell other people about it. You bring people in on your goals. And I mean,
that's absolutely true.
I'm in a position where I have to speak eloquently and from the heart and through wisdom in like a yoga teaching role to these like beginning like 50, 60 people that have no idea what yoga is.
Because that way you're held accountable for your...
Exactly.
Like, one thing I think... Sorry to co-opt this, but maybe you could agree with me. Going to Thailand, you have to be... being in Thailand, I realized how important it is. You have to be like honest and like... it's a lot easier to just get by in America by bullshitting. And in Thailand, like... You can't bullshit because you don't speak the language with anybody. I mean, you can maybe get away with it sometimes, but you have to be way more authentic and like you don't have the same. Here we can fall back on certain cultural things to get out of situations where you're uncomfortable in. But there you have to realize what you're doing. There's more. I'm rambling at this point. Do you see yourself living more authentically or engaging with more authentic media here, living your life in a more open way like that.
So I guess I should just kind of list some of the media at this point.
Yeah, let's see.
I was in New York recently and I read this amazing short book called Letters to a Young Poet. And it's
Rilke?
Yeah, you know that?
Yeah, I know that. I read it. Yeah.
That book was like it's
He's
become
good.
very close to me.
Isn't he good? It's like he's so wise. He's like this German poet. Rainier Rilke?
Maria Rilke.
Rainier Maria Rilke.
Letters to a Young Poet. It's a super small book, but like I read it very slowly because it's just packed with this dense wisdom.
With nuggets. Like,
yeah.
I don't know if was he writing to his nephew or maybe he was just writing to some poet out there. You know what I mean? That's like a rhetorical device to dispense artistic.
No, it was an actual poet that was sending him his poetry and his writing. And then this like Rilke guy, I think he was still young, like early 30s or something, was giving this probably late teenager guy advice on how to conceptualize his poetry and what it means to be an artist in the world, how to like stay true to like your deepest impulses and how to practice patience. And like,
that's interesting.
I love that stuff.
Yeah.
That was super good, I thought.
I haven't read it for a while, but what is your biggest takeaway from it? Like if you could boil it down to one thing that you do every day from that. Excuse me.
He has this part about like it's about finding what you're deeply compelled to do and then letting that live and breathe and take form regardless of like what you can see as like the end goal or whatever.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so he talks about like if you don't need to write, then that's okay. You don't write. But if you can't live without writing, then you must write. Like you must write every day. You must you write with like your most soulful passion.
Yeah.
And so it's like finding like what you must do to be happy and then just maximizing that. And,
that makes sense. That's
not being beholden to like other standards of what like the good life is because having a really good internal life. He's all about like being content with your solitude.
Oh yeah.
It's like a huge aspect of it.
That was the first thing you brought up earlier when you said
like this type of media is super good when you're like very alone. Like I was in New York City, all my friends that I was visiting were working and I was just exploring.
City of 8 million. You know what I mean?
No schedule. I was just exploring. I'd never been before.
Yeah.
Like it was insane. I'm just reading this thing on every subway. And what? I got to embrace like my inner solitude. And if I have an inner landscape of beauty, then the outside becomes beauty. And there's no such thing as poverty in my life. Even if I'm living in shambles, if I am rich in mind, then like things are amazing.
That's awesome.
Like Rilke really preaches that stuff, which is like.
It really connected right to your like.
Really connected to
right
me. I was laying on like Columbia University's campus just in the middle.
You were laying?
I was in the middle of their field in the center.
Oh, in a field. Okay.
It's like early evening, perfect weather.
I was picturing the middle of a street or something. It's like you're begging for coins or something.
No, I was going to visit my friend who went to Columbia J School.
Nice.
From Morocco. I was friends with her, and I was just at their campus, just laying there in the grass, and like had just read this book, and I just was like, I need to call my friend Tommy, who's like studying PhD, like religious studies stuff at Rice.
Whoa.
And I just had this super deep talk about like how to access like my purpose and like what that could look like and why I feel such a deep compulsion to like have an impact on other people's lives.
Right.
Like it's more like you're constantly asking why this, and then you answer that. And it's like, well, why that? You're going back to like the most like core aspect of things.
Yeah.
And so like I said before, like my purpose is to like bring out the best potential in other people, whatever. Well, why do I feel that?
Yeah.
And then like, and what question is like proper to be asking myself is like how I should do that, what I should do to do that, or is there something that I'm missing that is making me need to do that or whatever? And Rilke, I think, kind of makes you like just trust that if this is a deep compulsion that you have, you must run with that and see where that goes because
what else are you gonna do? You can't run from it. You're not living
right. You can create this like secure based lifestyle where you like have a 401k and a salary and like you get yourself a house and you live like immediately like moderately happy. That's like what so much of society chooses to do. And Rilke is just like, no, embrace it. You're an artist at your core. And
but what if someone's like purpose, their ultimate desire is to do that?
Yeah,
is to, some people, I'm sure.
I think that's super cool. Also,
right?
Like,
I think if people
must do that.
Some people have anxieties or whatever that I think having a nice steady job with a retirement plan makes them happier because of they're anxious for the future. They want to prepare,
Mm-hmm.
But you're saying for the people that don't feel the same way, they shouldn't have to do that.
I mean, I think more and more, like, there are these influences in society that are pushing people who go to college or graduate from college to be more entrepreneurial in their mindset.
I mean, the economy, the fact that millennials are in the economic situations that we are has kind of forced us to do that stuff, right?
Yeah, it's kind of an antiquated mindset on how work could be. And people like Tim Ferriss write about how you don't have to do this. Like, you can live a choice-based lifestyle to be free of that system of thought.
Well, it's also interesting that it's not like... So that kind of lifestyle has only popped up in the last, 60 years? I mean, think of before... I don't know, the 18... work has changed so much over
the trades.
What do you mean?
Just like
the trades.
I don't know how to make things.
Oh yeah, like
I don't know how to take things apart. I'm not mechanically minded.
I can't do that either. I can cook kind of, but like not like.
But like 90-something% of work 200 years ago required
making tables, making chairs. Like
there weren't like telemarketers and like
Yeah,
it's different.
They had different stuff.
I like live in the internet a lot.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe people back then though, like when they first invented, like when monks like first invented books or whatever, people were like, "Oh, everyone's living in books now. No one is living in the fields." I don't know. It's probably the same like gesture.
That makes sense. I never thought of it like that.
Yeah, we just adapt to whatever.
I'm generally like, you can't fight these things. They're inevitable forces in society, and like I said before, you find how you want to integrate with that new thing.
Who else have you read or listened to that have kind of affected your mindset?
Oh, I read this book right before going to Thailand called Yes Man. It's kind of a famous movie that Jim Carrey's an actor.
Oh, yeah.
The movie's like goodish, but the book I thought was incredible. Like he basically spends a year saying yes to every opportunity that comes his way.
And what happens?
I mean, he gives tons of his money away. He gets like major job things that are way different than he's ever experienced.
Oh, weird.
Falls in love. He like,
hubba.
Yeah, like he just has this crazy, chaotic filled lifestyle for a while. But I think in the end, he like really refines like what he wants out of life. He came from like really a place of being really stagnant.
Mm-hmm.
I'm terrified of being stagnant. Like that's something that pops up a lot for me. Is like, should I just stop? Should I be content right here? I mean, I look at my dad. He's had the same employer since he was 17.
Whoa.
He's lived in Topeka every year of his life.
Whoa.
Just like very opposite of me.
So you're saying your lifestyle is a direct running from your father.
And I've been living with him a lot this year. And I'm like in all these projects, like I'm writing a blog, I'm doing a podcast, I'm like planning a trip to New York, I'm like taking the LSAT, I'm like substitute teaching, I'm applying for new teaching positions. I'm like Skyping my friends from Thailand and like reading books about designing your life. And my dad just like, every day I wake up, every day I go and design the roads, every day I come back and go to the gym, then I eat dinner, then I go to bed. And it's like super opposite of me. And
well, but don't
to be learned from that.
Yeah, don't you think there's value in having that discipline? I mean, that's monk-like. You wake up, you do the same things every day. And then
I really respect the discipline about my dad. My dad's got a ton of discipline. I think one of my weaknesses is that I become so interested in so many things that I don't become great at any one of them.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like if you're using you're using all these things as distractions from, I don't know. Obviously,
and that's why I think becoming quiet and reflective and meditating and these things like constantly orient you towards what's right.
There we go.
I'm in a phase where I've had to try out a lot of things recently because I'm a person that's
You've had to try a lot of things?
Yeah.
It sounded like you said you had a child recently, and I was like, ooh, Tanner, dish.
One thing I'm preparing myself for is to have a child. I really hope to have one.
One day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that would be like an incredible role to be in.
Yeah. Being a daddy.
Part of that is like building my mind, building my heart capacity, building my like, something that's like an internal nature of me. Like I want to be living from that because these are all the things that are going to be replicated in some fashion or another in my kid.
Yeah, and Tanner Jr.
Yeah. It would actually be John Badgley the 6th.
John Badgley? Wait, what?
You don't know this?
I didn't know you were a 5th.
I'm John Badgley the 5th.
I didn't know you were the 5th. I thought you just had the same name as your father.
Who had the same name as my grandfather. Who had the same
Is it all John Tanner?
No.
The middle names are always different, but it's John Badgley. So your dad's? What does he go by? Not John. Greg. Who's your grandpa?
He's John Gregory Badgley. He goes by Greg. I'm John Tanur Badgley. I go by Tanner.
That's crazy.
Yeah, my grandpa, and you guys went by Jack.
Jack, classic. So then your son, John Bartholomew Badgley.
Is that what he should be named?
Yeah, I think so.
Bartholomew?
That's just kind of a vibe.
My friends in college like to joke that I'm never going to have a son. I'm just going to like have to choose one daughter, and I'll name her Joan and spell it J-O-H.
Joan, yeah, Joan. Joan Bartholomina Badgley.
Clever McAllister, folks.
Uh-huh. So, you were talking
about like Yes Man recently.
Oh yeah, Yes Man. Yeah, back to Yes Man.
What are some other things?
Oh wait, no, he said yes to everything, and so he was getting all these weird experiences. So he was living experientially, right?
Definitely.
Yeah, so that makes sense.
So that's been a huge thing, and I think I'm starting to turn the corner a little bit on that. I'm trying to simplify and minimize those things so I can become greater at certain ones. Especially next year is going to be a super heavy load on teaching.
Yeah.
I'm going to be another aspect of that program is I'm getting a master's. So
nice.
I'm part of a grad school.
Congrats. What school?
The University of the Pacific would be that one.
Cool. So
it's kind of it's called a residency. So it's based on like the medical residency model where you're working in a place and you're getting your education so that you can apply it directly to work.
That'll be good. I think the readings you'll do for that will be, and like the work you'll be doing for that is going to be awesome with your teaching in terms of expanding your.
And it really fits with the way that I like to internalize things. It's not just like learning it and taking your test and writing about it. It's actually like learning it and the very next day applying it as a teacher.
And that makes sense.
So I'm super pumped.
You can see the limits of that kind of theory, like you put into practice. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so that's going to be like 50, 60-hour weeks for me doing that. So I've got to inevitably minimize all the things.
Yeah, that's true. You won't have a choice.
And I'm excited for that. I think I'm entering a new life stage here pretty soon. And it's going to be cool.
That'll be good when you're so busy you have to choose what you're putting in your life and living deliberately. And some things might fall to the wayside. Maybe it's a sign you never needed them in the first place.
Right.
You know?
One other media I would add is like I read a lot of biography things. So
a lot of Wikipedia.
I do that. Yeah, definitely.
I love reading bios on Wikipedia.
Yeah, I like going to new cities and looking up the Wikipedia about that city.
I love doing that too. Yeah, and you're like, because you just get a quick rundown. Like, yeah.
I
know what you mean. That's a weird. That's funny.
You are the same as me.
Yeah, I've been copying you for years, buddy.
Well. Hopefully, I'm a good original to be copied.
I hope you've led me astray every step of the way, so I can't say enough about that.
I have reached the astray limits of myself before.
You're the outer limits of T-Badge.
Yeah, it's crazy. I find myself in Nepal and India both had crazy solitary type of experiences.
Where you're forced to reckon with your inner demons.
Sure, or just my outward situation was terrible and I had to fix it.
Your what?
My outward situation was bad.
Were you cold or hungry?
I arrived to India the day of the election, the American presidential election. So basically 1 year ago.
Yeah.
I'm immediately trying to find out who won because their morning time is the evening time for the U.S. So I arrived and I was first thing was I need to find a SIM card. I'm trying to get my phone with some internet so I can see read. I was just prepared to spend the whole 8-hour travel to my yoga village, just reading and listening and learning about the election.
You're in Delhi right now?
Yeah. So it's one major world city. And I find out that the prime minister canceled all their money
That's
that
the day you went?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, they got rid of the $1,000 rupee or the 1,000 rupee note and the another one. 5,000 rupee? I don't know what it was.
It was everything ATMs dispense and everything banks give out and everything money exchanges give out. So I had no way to get money.
Oh my, that's absurd. I didn't know you were there that day.
Yeah.
It was to cut, I was talking to an Indian guy about it. It was to cut black market stuff, illicit money. That's wild.
So that was a super big challenge. I couldn't make it out of the airport. I needed $1 to get on
the metro or whatever.
Metro, and I was I don't have $1 worth of money even. I have US dollars. No one will take that. No one takes credit cards. So I was just what do I do? And I just yelled out I cannot leave the airport. What am I supposed to do? And some nice Indian man comes up. He's here is your 60 rupees to get on this train. And then I start talking to this guy. This was an exercise in all of my life philosophy.
Yeah.
It's be really humbled by this position where you have no idea how to operate.
Can't do anything. Yeah.
And so I arrived, I can't figure out the election results, but like that's whatever. I'm gonna figure that out eventually. I need money because I can't leave. I get on this train thing with this guy. He tells me that every ATM in the country is closed, every bank is closed, every money exchange is closed. And I saw that stuff at the airport. So I'm like, I really don't know what my options are. Like, at this point, I'm thinking it's likely that I'm going to have to try to find like a 4 or 5 star hotel, pay like $150 a night, and just wait out this period and miss my first few days of yoga school. I was like, that is like maybe the worst that it can get.
Yeah, sure.
Like, I'm not going to let myself die out on the street for like not having food. Like, I'm going to go to a posh place that takes credit cards. But in India, just like Thailand, like almost
no place,
credit cards. Yeah, so I get to this train station. I'm like, maybe the train station like can take my credit card. No, they don't, and they don't take any money or whatever. And so they direct me to all these different lines. They're like, we can't here, but over there, you check over there. Yeah. And I had to go like 3 places waiting these like massive lines.
Yeah. Oh, the lines are insane.
Got a major taste of India right away.
Yeah.
And then I posted up outside after about 4 hours of trying stuff. It was like, I'm lost. I really have no idea what to do. I can't even afford a taxi anywhere. I can't afford water.
You can't get a tuk-tuk anywhere?
No, I can't pay anyone in cash.
Jeez.
I'm just like, man, this is a really bad situation.
So what'd you do?
My heart's starting to go pretty hard, and I'm sitting there, and I'm just like, oh, God, please. I like closed my eyes and like put my hands together and did this like very intentional prayer that like it's been a long time since I had done something like that.
Yeah, you're in a desperate situation.
I have no idea what to do. I am going to lean on like whatever signs you can how to direct myself. Please help me to be able to figure out the situation. And this guy comes up to me and he's like, I have a taxi for you. And I was like, I can't pay you, dude. It's like the 5th guy or whatever that done this to me. And then he went a step further. He's like, it doesn't matter. I have a taxi for you. And I was like, okay. But again, like the money's canceled. I'm a foreigner. I can't pay you. Yeah. Like, I'm highly vulnerable. You can take me for everything I'm worth.
Yes.
Basically, I'm just shouting that right away.
Right.
And so I'm just in this super defensive position, and this guy's
it makes you very defensive because so many people are trying to get you to pay
you
for
hear
stuff.
About all these scams,
the touts or whatever. Yeah, so
I am the most vulnerable person to scams right now.
Exactly. Except they couldn't really get your money out because all the ATMs were anyway.
Yeah. So I just started asking this guy, like, what's in it for you if I can't have money or whatever? He's like, I can take you to my friend who will get you money. I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, my friend can take your credit card and get you money. And I was like, sounds sketchy to me. No way, dude.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
And then he's like, seriously, man, you can believe me. And like he starts showing me like pictures of his family and stuff on his phone.
That's a classic move.
I know. And so I walk away from this guy several times, and then he like looks me deep in the eyes. He's like, nobody is solving your problem for you. I am the solution to your problem. Like, please just come with me. Like, I don't care if you pay me for this like 10-minute ride to my friend, but I can get you to your location. Like, the trains you cannot do a train today. You cannot do an airplane there. You're going to be spending a bunch of money at a fancy hotel or sleeping outside tonight. Like, at least try out my option. And I like looked him deep in the eye for like 10 to 15 seconds without talking. I was like, all right, I think you're a good guy. I hope you're a good guy.
I know this exact feeling.
So I made this like judgment like from the same place I was praying from. It's
sure.
A very like true like heart sort of space. And I was
desperate.
I feel love in this guy. I feel light in his eyes. Like, I'm going to trust this man. And he brings me to this basement of this New Delhi market. Yeah. I swipe my credit card and just pray like they don't just take everything.
Give him like 6,000 instead of 600.
I like watch him all meticulously, and he does it all right. And he takes his like 7% fee or whatever thing that sucks, but whatever. And I got paid in the rupees that all the local people are operating in because they can't just take everyone's money. There's a 30-day window in which they could exchange it at a bank. And so my guy agreed, like, if I give him the old money, he will have 30 days to exchange it, and he'll get me to my location. And I'll figure out my money situation when I'm there. Yeah. But once I'm there, I'm part of a yoga school, which I've already signed up for and paid for. Yeah, so you're have meals. And some staying.
You just got to get there.
And so we had a 10-hour taxi ride together.
He took you?
Yeah.
And you paid him?
Yeah.
That's not too bad. How much was it for?
$80.
That's not too bad.
Yeah.
What is that? 4,000 rupees? I don't know.
Yeah, I think
Something like that? I don't know.
So I mean, the train ticket was going to be 10. I
Yeah.
paid 80 instead, or like whatever. But it was like amazing. And for 10 hours, I was just drilling it with questions about Indian society.
Yeah.
I became like super educated.
Oh, where's he from? Was he from Delhi?
He was from
Uda. I know you're talking about Uday.
It's really close. It's east of
Udaipur.
Delhi.
Uttar Pradesh.
Yeah, I think
Something
that.
like- I don't
Something
know.
like start
Yeah.
with a U and then a dash at the end.
Nice.
So I mean that was like major experience, and also I found out that Donald Trump was the president.
Oh,
And in the moment that I'm sitting there waiting for my money, they're doing all these calculations about how to do it.
you see there's a
It's like
TV.
4 guys chatting together, and the guy hands me his iPhone, just like slides in front of me to the home screen of Google.
No.
And he's like, "See who your new president is," and I just like look at this. I was like, "Oh, I am so shocked."
Yeah.
Like
What happened?
everything was just turned upside down for me. I was like, "I have no money. That's insane."
Donald Trump's the
And
president.
Donald Trump's the president? That's insane. That was like no chance of him winning. How did he win?
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, I confirmed it several times. Like all these major news outlets are reporting this. I'm like, wow. And they're like, how do you feel? And I was like,
Not good.
terrible. I really don't want him to be our president, but also like I have no idea. Like, yeah, everything that I had anticipated happening in my future, me coming to my yoga school, Hillary being the president,
Oh,
just
yeah.
gone.
You can't. Yeah, everything you plan for is gonna go right. You just
That
gotta
was
deal with it, right? But you survived. and
I'm
now
sure
you're
that
stronger
experience
for
will
it.
like really stick with me for the rest of my life. Like whatever difficulty or struggle I'm going through,
Oh yeah, you're like
fear I have, like
at least it's not as bad as that.
I was in a situation that was really tight, and like, yeah, figured it out. So that was pretty cool.
Wow, that sounds like a super formative experience from the whole. I mean,
And then I had to wait in line like 3 days later. Once ATMs open, it was just like the whole city's in line.
Oh,
So it was
yeah.
like 3.5 hours in line, just chilling with the cows.
yeah, the cows.
ATMs are
everywhere.
running out of money in the middle of the wait.
Oh,
It's like a $20 maximum withdrawal. So it's just like I like lived extremely frugally, which is another like habit I think I
Yeah.
have, like not like being really wise about everything you
so
spend.
I think we can see every value or habit, custom that you've developed over the last year demonstrated in that one story, right?
Yeah.
Being mindful, not giving up control. I don't know, just being open minded to what the future can bring, right?
Yeah.
Dealing with setbacks like Donald Trump, like you know.
It was pretty
Interesting.
fascinating for sure. It was no way to not be present minded there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's opposite of being passive about your reality.
Yeah. All right. So we've been talking for quite a while now. I just have one final question in terms of to kind of wrap everything up. What are some of your goals and dreams, or some of your concrete steps you want to take to achieve those, other than going to teach and travel more, I assume, but going out to teach in California to a bunch of underprivileged kids? You know, what else are some of your goals and dreams? I know we're talking, most of this has been present minded, but it's not, it can be good to look to the future sometimes.
Right. I would like to be able to access some sort of like reality after this life.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe in heaven, and I hope that I can achieve that. And part of that would be through like different actions I take, I guess.
Okay, so getting to heaven is number one on
Yeah,
the list.
sure, that's a big one.
Okay.
But as far as like my personal things here, like I would really like to be able to found some sort of charity or nonprofit type of thing that would
Nice.
really give to these causes that like I feel very compelled to give to based on like my knowledge about how the world works.
Okay.
And I don't know what that looks like. Obviously right now I'm not in a position financially to do so.
Yeah.
I think it'd be really cool in a more like 40, 50, 60-year-old place in my life to be able to have like some sort of project that like I'm pouring a lot of energy and money into that's helping thousands or millions of people.
Lots of people, yeah.
In a cause that I'm really passionate about. And in the meantime, I want to find out what those things are. And I think being a teaching role in like this sort of lower income sort of capacity exposes you to lots of different trajectories you can go from there. So that's like one big one. I would like to write a book one day or some sort of thing that was like very consumed by a certain audience.
Okay.
That like would change their, like it would change their life. So like I would love to think that like something I did changed somebody's life for the better. I really want to be a dad, like I said before.
Oh yeah.
I want to be like the best dad I can be.
Yeah.
So I want to educate my kid in traditional ways as well as like things that are really personalized to them. And I want them to like do something really, really cool with their life. Maybe something I didn't get to do.
Yeah.
I would really like to be some sort of community leader. Like, I think it would be kind of cool to be somewhat like the face of a community or like a key decision maker or maybe intermediary person that like everybody kind of knew had like the best judgment of what is like just and right and
the community elder,
sustainably minded, and all these sort of like kind of like Gandhi but on a lower level.
Okay, so a little lower than Gandhi. Savior of a
He's
nation.
one of the people I really look up to.
Yeah. So is that so you're looking for political goals in the future?
I think I probably have something political about me. Like, if I'm gonna be honest about that whole real K thing about like finding what you're deeply compelled to do, like
some kind of political.
I think I want to be in a political role,
at least in a small community. Who knows how big it'll.
Yeah, I'm scared, obviously, because politics is like this, notoriously corrupt sort of. Now, it's like very broken in many ways. It's very like, what's the word? Like, there's a bifurcation or like a binary, like you're either in this or this group. And I think eventually we're going to be able to evolve from that and elevate.
I think we have to. Like, we don't have a choice.
I mean, I was super inspired by Bernie Sanders' campaign. And the amount of support he got and who that support came from is that next generation.
Exactly.
I'm in a position to be able to be in a political leadership role. Say I'm 30, 40, 50 years old.
Exactly.
Like, I think I'm going to be speaking from like a spiritually grounded place and like a earthly minded place of wisdom where I've like actually authentically lived out the things I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
I've consumed a variety or a breadth of like knowledge and education.
Sure.
I pursue things deeply. I'm a living example with like being a father, and like at that point I really want to I want to do something that like has a profound impact at like a very core level of a subsect of society.
Sure, and you won't be beholden to Wall Street fat cats and big pharma, those sorts of.
Yeah, I think that those things will also wane as well.
Yeah, I hope so.
I think like I'm optimistic about the future.
Oh yeah, me too.
I mean, I think there's certain things that are problematic about millennial culture, but in general, like I think it's a much more mindful culture. It's a much more integrative, inclusive culture. It's like forward-looking, it's sustainably minded, it's like less self-centered, it's about like championing diversity,
right?
It's about like looking beyond superficial characteristics of us. So I mean, I'm optimistic about that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and I think all your goals and dreams are right in line with that philosophy, helping others, bringing people together.
I'm inspired by the amount of people that listen to podcasts our age.
Oh yeah,
like it's crazy.
Everyone loves
podcasts. Just don't exist for like my parents' age.
No.
But for us, like you're actually hearing these substantive interviews that like have like meaningful content to them.
Yeah.
And
most people I know watch more podcasts than any other medium. Maybe TV, like Netflix, but other than that, like
it just goes so much further than like headline news does, where they're just talking about the same like buzzworthy sort of comments.
Whatever gets clicks and
has like a judgmental tone to it all the time.
Yeah.
There's just no depth, and it's not really focused on. It's noise. It's not like it's distraction. It's like this thing that keeps tying us back into like this fear-based like mindset that we need to adopt to like some sort of societal standard that protects us from being our true selves or whatever. I don't want to hear to that, and I think that other people are on board with that. So right now, I'm probably a fairly like liberal type of person.
Oh yeah,
but I think liberal will be for America. We're super right as a country. I think America will start to become more towards the center. And at that point, I'm going to be firmly grounded in realism and idealism. And I'm going to be the perfect candidate for us as like a community.
There you heard it here first, folks. Tanur Badgley, 2020. Right?
That's probably too soon.
President.
Maybe 2030.
2032? Yeah, okay. So that gives you, how long is that?
That's 15 years.
15 years. All right, 15 years. You have 15 years to lay some groundwork for your campaign.
Hell yeah, I can do that.
All right, it starts here. Well, I think that's about it today. Is there any last parting thoughts you wanted to leave with the audience before we wrap this episode up?
I think that after you listen to any of the episodes that I produce or this one, you should really be thoughtful about what it is that you can go and do right away. So I would say I'm always super actionable after I consume high quality content.
Oh yeah.
So I would say like get a note out. I use the notes app on my iPhone and my MacBook, or like just write a note, but like write down some initial thoughts you have and then some actionable steps that you can take. Like I'm going to read this book. I'm going to do this new habit, and try to think of a habit that can be taken out and substituted for a positive habit. It's something that I'm working on recently.
That's good.
Yeah. So you just kind of become aware of like how much time and energy gets filled by low quality or junk sort of stuff, and take that out and create a new space for something beautiful and great to like fill that hole, and then your reality will be much more improved.
Yeah, excellent. So you heard it here first, folks. Cut out your family members that are eating up your time and listen to this podcast instead. Do something mindful with your lives.
Touche.
All right, everyone. Thank you for listening. Tanner, thanks for talking with me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Austin.
Yeah, no problem, buddy.
I'm talking to you.
Yes, dude. All right, well, take it easy.
So what actionable step are you going to take next? Do you have a lingering question or something you want help working through? Do you need support in doing what it's going to take to live your purpose? People of Purpose is here for you. Subscribe to the podcast and soak in the stories and words of our wonderful guests. Do you have any friends that might enjoy this episode or the podcast? Bring them on board as a podcast subscriber. If you want to actually see the guests behind the voices, as well as the purposeful people and communities I'm a part of around the world, follow the podcasting journey on Instagram at People of Purpose Podcast. You can connect with our purpose-seeking community on Facebook at People of Purpose by liking and following our page. Know the minute each new episode is published, hear first about upcoming People of Purpose opportunities, and receive regular tidbits of inspiration and media I'm purposely perusing, pursuing, and pondering. It's simply a regular dose of goodness, intentionally filtered by me, to nourish your personal path of purpose. For the ultimate engagement, join our intentional group Purpose Seekers from the Facebook page. Join in longer form discussions, link up with accountability partners, and share in opportunities and challenges to better know and grow in your purpose. Send me a direct message on either Facebook or Instagram if you want to talk privately and receive personalized guidance on how to raise your sales and right your ship. Come forth with your biggest dreams and aspirations, and I will do my best to connect you with the necessary resources and mentors from my network to start your trek along your personal path of purpose. Cheers, and here's to becoming